Sound check, testing, 1, 2. All right, looks like I got 9:46 here. We're going to go get started here in just one quick second. Get some people to join in. It'll be just one quick moment, just testing the sound again, making sure everything is good to go. All right, looks like we're good. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Hello, welcome back. My name is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Slidell, Louisiana. We're going to be doing kind of a quick update because there's a lot to talk about. We got some very cold temperatures across the area. Also, there's even a risk for severe weather tomorrow too. So we got a pretty active weather pattern, and we're going to kind of talk about everything that's already happened in regards to some of the cold air that we saw earlier this morning, that many people are still seeing today. And then talk about what we're going to be expecting here for the next at least 24 to 36 hours, and maybe even take a quick peek at the potential for maybe some warm weather coming up towards the end of the forecast. So we're going to talk about that here in just one quick moment. First, we want to go ahead and show you what's going on across the area right now. Hopefully you can kind of see this. I know the numbers are a little small here, what the current temperatures are across the area. What we're seeing here is we have people, everybody's in the 20s. A lot of people are in the 20s, lower 30s for the South Shore. It's very cold across the area. And a lot of these areas have not even seen warm up at all to above freezing, especially for around Baton Rouge to some areas across the North Shore. Have just been staying freezing all day long. So it's a very frigid, cold air mass going on right now. So jumping back here, we want to show you some of the 24-hour minimum temperatures that we saw. Some of the breadwinners here, that's going to be New Roads at 18, Macomb down to 19. I mean, it was just a bone-chilling morning. Baton Rouge got down very low too as well, and even down in New Orleans, you got down to the mid-20s. And we posted this on social media earlier. This is actually some of the record lows that were shattered across the area. Baton Rouge got down to a low of 20, which broke the record of 23. And I put this really interesting information here to the right. It's the duration below freezing, which is at 49 hours and ongoing, and that was at 6:45. So 50 plus hours below freezing for Baton Rouge is just incredible. New Orleans International Airport, 30 hours, and that's ongoing. We believe that I believe they're currently at 32 or really close to 32 right now. Slidell, we hit a low of 22 this morning. Macomb 19, as I just showed you before. So some of the more extreme cold temperatures are ongoing across some areas, but we know that there's a little bit of moderation. And because of that, with some of the trends we've been watching tonight, we did go ahead and pull south that hard freeze warning and even put a freeze warning for the South Shore. For many locations that have not even moderated at all day. They have been in the hard freeze warning criteria, if not right at it, if not below. But this has been such an impactful long duration event that we felt the need to go ahead and include pretty much the I-10-12 corridor in the North Shore, Baton Rouge to St. Tammany Parish. And this is a little bit of an update from the graphic you may have saw posted earlier, that we have actually extended that slightly east as well to include St. Tammany Parish and Pearl River County, Mississippi. That includes Covington, Slidell, and then up to Poplarville up in that region. Now also in the South Shore, we're going to talk about each area specifically, but for the North Shore and the areas I just talked about for the hard freeze warning, that's where we're talking about temperatures as low as 22 is expected. Now for the freeze warning, we're saying temperatures as low as 29, or it's going to be generally around or slightly below freezing. So freeze warning is not going to be as cold, but still expecting freezing temperatures. Hard freeze warning, though, is going to be for temperatures a lot colder than that. That's where we're going to be worried about the continuation of impacts across the area. So again, talking about the differences between the two, the freeze warning, really we say to remember the 4 Ps when you're talking about proactive or protective actions here, and that's going to be people, pets, plants, of course, too, are very extremely important, and pipes. Now, when we're talking about for freeze warning, We're not really too concerned about pipes in this case. We want you to be checking on the elderly and others who may be sensitive to the cold. Check for pets and livestock as well as protect sensitive vegetation. But if you're in the hard freeze warning, that's where you need to wipe your pipes or do any type of protection of pipes. And also do the other protective actions just listed. That is providing pets with warm shelter, protect sensitive vegetation, and follow safe heating practices as well. So that's in the areas. That's the two differences between the areas. So just if you don't feel safe, if you don't want to be a little extra cautious, you can maybe run your pipes if you're in the South Shore, or run your faucets. But still, we're not really expecting to see those mid-20s like we saw, those lower to mid-20s like we saw earlier this morning for those locations. But that's not different. That's not the same when it comes from Baton Rouge to Covington. We're still going to be seeing some very cold temperatures tonight. So we want you to check on the elderly, protect the plumbing, and of course bring your pets indoors. And if you haven't already, which hopefully you should have, bring any potted plants indoors or protect plants if possible. So this is what I was just talking about with 4 P's of freeze safety: people, pets, plants, and pipes. Those are the 4 things to really want to remember here. Now, something that's been going on that we're also watching is that there are some rolling blackouts across the area, especially across New Orleans. We noticed that people have been urged to reduce energy use because of the fact that there are rolling blackouts. And this is going to be between 5 and pretty much 9 o'clock tonight, with a lot of this ending by midnight. Just remember, if your power is out and you're one of those who have lost power and you're possibly watching, or you know someone who has lost power, just cover your windows, close off any rooms to avoid losing heat, and dress warm, of course. And if you're using a generator, place it in a well-ventilated location. Place generators so that exhaust fumes can't enter the home through windows, doors, or other openings in the building. And make sure you have a working carbon monoxide alarm in your home as well. So the good news is these planned blackouts, these rolling blackouts, are not expected to last long, between 9 p.m. and we heard also around midnight. So this will only be a temporary thing if you're affected, and hopefully we'll start to see some power being restored a little bit later tonight. So I'm going to actually jump back here and show you that there's another threat to talk about. And I know this is hard to believe. Even with this very cold air that we're dealing with, there is actually a risk for severe weather as we're having this storm system approach from the west. So we're talking a lot about cold air right now, but now we're going to kind of jump to starting to talk about the storm system that's approaching from the west. So yes, this is another storm system that's approaching from the west that's going to be introducing a little bit of a different package of threats versus the other one that we just dealt with the ice all across western areas. This one, actually, the low pressure center itself is going to be a little bit more to the west and a little bit more to the north when it comes across, such that the warm sector where we see severe weather may come across the South Shore, southeastern Louisiana, and then across coastal Mississippi, and actually introduce the potential for some strong to severe thunderstorms. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to jump real quick to my browser here and show you what we're talking about. This is the latest water vapor imagery, which is just our geostationary satellite that's above the Earth that is checking to see how much water vapor is in the atmosphere. And the colors that you see in blue and white, there's a lot of moisture. And the areas that you see in yellow and orange, there it's really dry. So of course, with it being very cold, it's very dry too. So it's a dry, cold night across the whole area, but what you're not seeing here is that the energy associated with the moisture seen towards our west is approaching our area, and what we're going to see is to the south and west across coastal Texas is a low pressure center is going to develop, and it's going to be spreading rain across the area. Now, of course, that's very concerning if especially we have freezing temperatures across the area and we have the storm system approaching, that there may be some winter weather potential. Now we're going to jump to this. This is basically just model guidance. This is one of the numerical model guidance suite of guidance that we use to determine what's going to happen here in the future. So this is a model guidance that is predicting the future of what radar is going to look like. And this is, again, this is just one of the many tools, one of the thousands of tools us meteorologists use to help determine what's going to happen with the forecast. And going ahead here, I'm going to actually start this right now at 10 o'clock. And as you can see, it's exactly what I just showed you with the satellite image. It's very dry and calm. I know there's some winter weather starting already in parts of east central Texas. But as we go ahead around midnight, we're going to start to see that coming into Shreveport 1 a.m. And then coming around 3 a.m., that's where we're going to start to see those elevated echoes to the southwest, which is usually going to be aloft. And then around daybreak towards 5 o'clock, here's what we wanted to talk about real quick. Now, we do see some echoes coming up across Baton Rouge. It's not out of the question there could be some freezing drizzle around daybreak around Baton Rouge. because it's just that cold, and some of this moisture is going to be increasing from the southwest. But as you see, it kind of goes away around towards the early morning hours, and then towards 8 to 9 and 10 o'clock, as we're going a little bit towards midday, we may have a break in that. We may not really see much of anything towards the morning, and by that time, the low pressure center is really going to get its act together back down to our southwest and continue to push up to the northeast. So with that slight risk that I just showed you earlier, the threat that we're talking about and really emphasizing is going to be primarily in the afternoon hours through the evening and then the overnight hours before midnight. So there's not going to be a risk of severe weather in the morning. If anything, maybe areas to our northwest need to monitor the potential for some maybe freezing rain. And then depending on just how far the cold air retreats back to the northwest will determine if maybe some locations may see some additional ice tomorrow. That's what we're working on, determining that if any type of advisories are going to be needed. We're here working very closely at the latest data right now to see if we may need an advisory, but we're just kind of checking the data right now. But going ahead with time, again, that's going to be for areas north of Baton Rouge where we're a little bit concerned for that area. But as we get towards like 5 o'clock, that's when we're going to start to see maybe some heavier rain and thunderstorms approaching from the southwest. That's going to be impacting Baton Rouge around that time. Thunderstorms approaching Lafayette, just will be passing Lafayette, going across. And then around 6 to 7 o'clock, yes, it's actually possible that enough of this cold air could rise north, and there's enough, maybe just a slither amount of instability and some shear, where we may actually have a kind of a broken line of strong to maybe even severe thunderstorms rolling across New Orleans. The timeline, as you can see there, is going to be 8 o'clock. We don't want to be that specific. We're saying really a range between maybe 6 and 9 o'clock for New Orleans. Where we may have to be watching for the potential of some strong wind gusts, that's severe wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour or greater. Maybe even some large hail. That'll be hail at or greater than 1 inch in diameter. And then maybe even a few isolated tornadoes. So the threat, like I showed you before, I'm going to show you the graphic here in just a second when we're done showing this. It's going to be primarily for I-10-12 south. Probably the greater risk is going to be for the South Shore. For New Orleans, you're in that risk too. So by that time, all that cold air is retreated north, and it's going to be impacting freezing rain conditions and for icy conditions for central Mississippi. But we may actually have to deal with this band of strong to severe storms as it races across. And then by around 9 to 10 o'clock, it goes across the Mississippi coastline. And then good news, it's out of here. By midnight, there's no more risk of severe weather, and we'll get this system out of here. So I'm going to jump back here and show you the graphic I was just talking about that shows you the risk that I was talking about with that squall line coming across. Again, it's going to be including cities like Houma, New Orleans, Slidell, and Biloxi. You're in that severe weather risk for tomorrow afternoon, primarily late afternoon through the evening, and then overnight hours, Wednesday night before midnight. We're not worried about too much of the risk of severe weather for areas further north. It'll just be far too cold. Baton Rouge up to Macomb, just a little bit too cold for severe weather up there. So again, just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. We always say this, have multiple ways to get warnings. TV, radio, broadcast meteorologists, they'll come on television and let you know the latest warnings. Weather radio, WEA, wireless emergency alert for weather apps too. Always reliable ways to receive warnings. And here's what I wanted to show you. This is that people were wondering, is there any, if you're like me, I'm not too much of a cold weather fan, and there's pretty much a reason why we're down here in New Orleans. We don't really anticipate this long duration of a cold spell. So a lot of us aren't used to this type of cold weather. So if there's any good news to this, right there, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, those last few days there, yes, we may rebound going into late weekend, into early next week. We may be getting close to 70 degrees. So the good news here is usually when we deal with a cold spell, it's really rarely a long duration event, and not that's this significant. This is a little bit more of a rarer event, as we would call it. But the good news there is that even here for Baton Rouge as well, we're talking about maybe getting to the upper 60s there. So that's some good news as we try and wrap up this event. We dry out Thursday. Sunshine may return Thursday into Friday. Definitely by Friday into Saturday. Yes, we may have one little round of showers on Sunday, but at this time it's nothing too impactful for the area. And then we will be nicely warm into the possibly upper 60s, and I wouldn't be even too far-fetched to say maybe even a few lower 70s across the region come that time early next week. So a lot going on here. Hard freeze warnings in effect, freeze warnings also for the South Shore. We have a slight risk of severe weather tomorrow. Just really try and stay warm tonight. We know, of course, with the rolling blackouts, be cognizant of that. Try and conserve as much energy as you can. Maybe turn down your thermostat a little bit to help conserve energy. But the good news is here we'll try and get this system, we'll try and get this cold air to retreat a little bit tomorrow. Maybe some freezing drizzle for around Baton Rouge and for areas to the north. And then we may have to deal with just one quick round of severe weather tomorrow afternoon and evening. And then it gets out of here by the overnight hours around midnight. And then after that, it's going to be drier and much calmer towards late week and especially the weekend. And then we'll try and get some warm weather in here. I'm here rooting for that possibility myself. So we're going to try and end it here. We wanted to end it right at 10 o'clock, right in time for a lot of the newscasts around the area. So we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you so much for joining. We're not 100% sure we'll do a Facebook Live tomorrow, but if we do, you will be the first to know. We'll post it on Twitter and Facebook. So thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you paying attention and listening through this broadcast, and we will catch you next time. Have a great night.